Good morning. So, it's Christmas time. Or, it was. I'm sorry for the late video. And do you know what that means? No school and a lot of free time. So what was I gonna do during all of that time? Join a game jam, of course. I would be traveling a lot, so I'd have a lot of time that I wouldn't be doing anything in anyways, so I joined a jam. With it totally not just a reason to not work on my long-term project. So I found a jam to do during my break, and guess what? It was Jame Gam, but this time, Christmas edition. It was the same jam I did during Thanksgiving. I'll link that video down below. So I knew that it was a good, fun jam, and I happily signed up for it. This jam started differently than usual, or at least for me. It started at 1 in the morning in my car driving to the airport. Not where I usually start a game, but you live with what you got. For Christmas, my family was going down to Mexico for a couple of days, so instead of being able to set my desk and comfortably code, I was stuck in the backseat of a minivan, long before the sun was up. I started the jam a couple days late with all the craziness of my schedule and the holiday season, but jumped on it right away. The theme of the jam was Christmas, fitting for a Christmas themed jam, and the special object. One of the things that this jam does special was a gift, which fit well with the theme. This was one of the games that I had a good idea right off the bat. One of my favorite Flash games growing up was a simple 2D dogfighting game, fittingly called Dogfight 2. You were just a simple plane flying around, blowing up crap. Who wouldn't love it? Actually though, the game was really fun and challenging. If any of you had played it, you know the satisfying feeling of perfectly dropping a bomb on another plane. The game was a perfect balance of arcadey fun and a stupidly ridiculous challenge. But with the death of Flash, it's sadly gone. The only emulators I found for it run at around 2 frames a second. If any of you know of an emulator that works on Mac, please let me know. So unfortunately, I can't play it anymore. But anyways, Christmas Game Jam. While I was thinking of ideas, I remembered this game and thought it would be fun to, in essence, remake the game but with a Christmas theme. So I then decided to make a game where you're flying Santa's sleigh, dropping presents on all of the houses, and with ghouls trying to steal those presents. So then I got right to work. When first starting a game, one of the first things that I do is find some temporary assets from the Unity asset store. But wait, I was still in the car, remember? With no access to the internet, and therefore the Unity asset store. Not wanting to waste this precious time, I stole some art I had already downloaded on my computer from other projects and started working on making my game. Making the player's movement wasn't very hard to add. I just added a force to the right every frame and added ability to be able to rotate it with the A and D keys. It wasn't a very complicated system, but it got the effect that I was wanting, with it feeling like you're actually flying all around the place. I made the camera follow the player so you wouldn't just fly off into nothingness. I checked that one off the list and hurriedly moved on to the next task. For the enemy, it's almost the same movement as the player where it just moved to the right, but this time I tried to look for the player just by rotating in its direction. This took me practically no time at all, but it got the job done well enough. That was around the time when we first arrived at the airport, so sadly I had to put away my laptop and go through the mazes of security and gates to get to our gate. We got through security, walked to our gate, possibly the furthest walk to any gate, and found a couple of seats to reserve. I found a Wendy's and I had a quick bite to eat, then started to code again. In the crowded, loud airport, I opened back up my laptop and began to work on the remaining features of my game. I then had to add the main objective of the game, the houses that you're supposed to deliver the presents to. I started with writing that script, but then realized that I needed to be able to drop bombs in the first place. I made a really simple system that just instantiates a present where you are and sets its velocity to the sleigh's velocity. I then added some code to the enemy that instantly kills it if it's hit by a present that you drop. With that all done, I then had the system set up so I could go back to the houses and make it so when a present hits it, that it gets set to having a present. For some visual feedback, I made it so that the house switches from what sprite it's using after it's been hit, so people can distinguish what houses they've hit and not hit. And it looks pretty epic with the placeholder assets, if I do say so myself. Wanting to make this game more like Dogfight 2, I decided to add a little shooter that'll just shoot forwards in the direction you're facing. With that added, and having the enemy die after being shot a couple of times, I was pretty much done with all the main features that I needed to add. Then, off the shoddy airport Wi-Fi, I went to lostpec.com and started to look for a color palette. I found and downloaded this palette and started working on some art. I first drew the sleigh because it was the main focus of the game. The sleigh was simple with a bag in the back and just 2 reindeer in the front. I then went on to draw the basic present in 2 different colors just for some different variation. Next I drew a house, both a lit and unlit version, the snowy ground, and a big ol' moon for the background. Then came the next challenge. What do I want the enemy to be? This question puzzled me for quite a bit. So what better to do than to ask my grandma? She gave me the idea of making the enemy a Krampus. For those of you who don't know what a Krampus is, I don't really either. So, here's what Wikipedia says. Krampus is a horned, anthropomorphic figure in the central and eastern alpine folklore of Europe, who during the Advent season scares children who have misbehaved. Pretty cool if you ask me. Love you, Grandma. And I actually thought this was a great idea, so I tried to draw it and get an idea for what it looked like. I liked how it looked, but I just don't think it'll fit my game, and I didn't think I was going to use it. I just couldn't imagine what it would look like flying and all that stuff, so I just scrapped it. Without any better idea, I decided just to draw a ghost-like guy. I made a ghoul-like guy and was really happy with it. Just as I was finishing up with that, it was finally time to board for our flight. I packed back up my laptop and we began the boarding process. We found our seats, sat down, and were ready to go. We taxied to the runway, got ready for takeoff, and sat on the runway. A couple of minutes later, we taxied back the way we came and parked back at our gate. Apparently something was wrong with the brakes or something and we couldn't take off. Yay! So then we sat in the plane at our gate for at least an hour, so yeah, super fun. After we finally got off the plane, after sitting on it for what felt like forever, we had another couple of hours to wait for our new flight. Yay! Our flight got pushed back 4 hours, but I guess that gives me more time to work on my game. I had already finished up most of the main art, and so I could go on and add some more animations frames for the stuff I had drawn. I drew another frame for the sleigh and some different frames for the flashing lights of the house. With all of this art drawn, I started to put everything into the game and set it all up. By the time that I had the game looking mostly all pretty, it was time to board our flight again. We found our seats, sat down, and were ready to go. We taxied to the runway, got ready for takeoff, and actually took off. At that point, I was exhausted. It was around 5 in the afternoon at that point, and I'd been up since around 1, with only an hour or 2 of sleep within that period of time. And I just didn't have the energy to pull out my laptop on the flight, and just sat back and watched Monty Python and the Holy Grail with my grandma. Super nice. We landed, found a shuttle to our resort, and arrived there shortly. I was drained and hungry, so I found some food and went right to bed. That was a long day, and after I arrived in Mexico, I didn't really feel like coding anymore and just wanted a time to relax. I just sat back in the warm sun, reading a book. For the next couple of days, I didn't do much on the game, mostly just laid back and relaxed. Every once in a while, in the mornings and at night, I'd sit down and work on my game a bit. I was mostly just polishing the game. I made some UI to show how many presents you had and how many houses you needed to bomb still. I made an end scene and definitely didn't just copy my scene management script from my other game. And with one final push, the night before the jam ended, I finished the game. I made a couple of really simple levels, a start and an end screen, and slapped a catchy title on it. Santa the Bomber. I actually love how the start scene for the game turned out. I wanted to add some sound to the game, but definitely didn't want to spend time actually writing and recording the music, so I just stole a Christmassy sounding song and plopped it in the background of my game. I also made it so that when changing scenes, this music would keep playing, and I thought that was pretty swifty. With the game done, I made a pretty simple itch page with just a couple of simple colors and submitted it to the jam. If any of you want to play it, the link is down in the description. After that, I could just chill and enjoy my vacation. Usually I play through and rate most of the games, but I was just done with my laptop and put it away. After a couple of days of lounging in the sun and having fun, I checked back up on the jam to see how it turned out, and overall I got 22nd out of 93 entries. Which wasn't the best I've ever done, but oh well, I did mostly make the game in one sitting in an airport. Overall, I was actually really surprised that I could just grind out and write a game in only a couple of hours. It really seemed like the game design process went by in a blur, and it just felt really comforting knowing that I could quickly make games and put them out there. One of the comments on the itch page suggested that I put a speedrunning timer over the game, and I do think that would have made the game a ton better, but oh well, it's a done game. Like I did for my last Jame Gam, I have zero intentions of updating or remaking this game at all, and I'm really happy with that. Jame Gam is a great jam, and if any of you want to play the game, the link's in the description. If you want to watch my video about the game jam I did over Thanksgiving, I'll have that down below as well. I'm really sorry about how late this video is. My life has really been a mess since Christmas. I've been home for a total of around 4 days since I went to Mexico. Right now, I'm writing this script in the Phoenix airport for a completely unrelated trip than my vacation to Mexico. Hopefully after this, my life will somewhat come back to normal, and there won't be as big of a gap between videos. Well, thanks for the 3 of you watching this long. If you like this video, then like and subscribe. If you didn't, don't, or whatever. I'm not your mom. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.